You would agree with me that the Viktor Gyökeres saga is a full-blown one. Even in as much as we as Manchester United fans want to deny it and all of that, we want to kind of, feel like, it's not yet a saga yet. To me, I feel like it's a full-blown saga because there's now too many back and forths. There's now too many reports. There's now too many things about like this and that. And, planning a bid is available for sale. He's unavailable for sale and all of that. But we're here to dive deep and break down some of these things that we, see in the media and in the media space and all of that. So let's break it down and, take it one step at a time. But what I would say is that we need to kind of keep our powder dry when it comes to this whole Viktor Gyökeres thing and maybe look towards other options like I see in the media where they say Man United are interested in Victor Osimhen and that his salary 192k a week, 192,000 pounds a week is what he's requesting, which of course 192,000 pounds a week for a striker like him is not a bad idea considering the fact that he's going to help rebuild what is left of Manchester United. But we need to talk about this Viktor Gyökeres saga. So welcome to United Talks podcast and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing and helping us build this community together and helping us grow as a community. We continue to bring you like the news, and this is more like a reaction to what's happening in the media, especially with regards to Viktor Gyökeres. Now, obviously, at the start of the transfer window in June and all of that, in fact, before the transfer window started, Manchester United were super interested in Viktor Gyökeres, obviously because of his links with Rúben Amorim. But at the end of the day, it was heard that, okay, there was a gentleman's agreement. This was broken by Fabrizio Romano, that there was a gentleman's agreement between Viktor Gyökeres and Sporting to leave at a reasonable fee below his release clause of 60 below his release clause to 60 plus 10 million in add-ons with regards to euros fee, which is around 56 million pounds to about 60 million pounds for Man United to purchase. And obviously, it wasn't to be, as there's loads of news that came out at some point that Viktor Gyökeres was not for sale, and then next thing you're hearing Arsenal are in the race, even though Arsenal are still chasing Benjamin Sesko, then the race for Viktor Gyökeres and all of that. And then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, the Sporting president comes out and releases bombshells of statements, which we're going to kind of break down. Federico Varandas has released a stunning statement about Man UFC target Viktor Gyökeres. This is what we're breaking down now. Following a recent media speculation. And this is what he said. I tried to take 3 days off. I came back yesterday. I saw so much information with counter information that it is only fair to come out and explain the process. And we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere with this, and we're getting somewhere with what has been said in the media with regards to Viktor Gyökeres. And then he said during the transfer market, we saw that he was going to stay because I started last year when the 2023-2024 season ended and Sporting became national champions. During the transfer market, we saw that he was going to stay because there was no offer. Wow. There was no offer. Okay, cool. The agent spoke to us. Obviously, there was no offer, but there were interest, right? The agent spoke to us to add some clauses. Hugo Viana, as he always did, and very well managed the relationship with the agents, right? This relational space is established with the sports director. One of the agent's biggest concerns was whether we would demand a termination clause. Hugo Viana negotiated with the agents over several meetings until the agent demanded that the presence of the president. At this meeting, which included the president, the agent, and Viana, Gyökeres was not present. He wanted to guarantee certain things. And what was agreed? That Sporting would not demand a release clause, right? That Sporting would not demand a release clause now for one reason. He was going to be 27 years old, and no player leaves Portugal at 27 for 100 million euros or 90 million euros. In that same meeting, the agent wanted wanted to anchor the exit to a value. I said this sentence: it is not worth us setting a value because I don't know what will happen in a year's time. I don't know if it will be 40, 60, or 80 million euros. What I guarantee is that I will not demand 100 million euros. Okay, that sounds like a verbal agreement. From then on, I never spoke to the agent again. I never spoke to the player about departures or values. Now I see the agent is in the press releasing information. I want to make one thing clear. Sporting has common sense and keeps its word. Gyökeres scored 63 goals and 10 assists. Fantastic performance. Certainly one of the best players to have ever stepped onto the Portuguese turf. And Sporting will not demand that the clause. Now, blackmail and insults, Sporting will not accept. One thing is certain, Sporting will not accept 60 million plus 10 million in add-ons. As of today, Sporting has not received any proposal for Gyökeres. Okay, so it's a full-blown saga from this whole statement. It's a full-blown saga, and it's a back and forth between Viktor Gyökeres, and I think it's been overblown by the media, because reading this full statement, if these are the exact words he said, reading this full statement, you could tell that there is an agreement, a verbal agreement or gentleman's agreement, as Fabrizio Romano called it, and that gentleman agreement basically, creates an opportunity for Viktor Gyökeres to actually move away from Sporting, but there are some caveats to it. There are some caveats to the situation and all of that. And it is with regards to what the fee back and forth is. It says it's not going for 60 plus 10 million, which is 70 million euros. But there are some negotiations to be had, right? There are some negotiations to be had. If it's not going for 60 plus 10, he might go for 50 plus 20 or 50 plus 25. So you never can tell. It's just a back and forth, and it's creating it's stirring the waters in the media and turning into a full-blown saga where it has to now be that we're now, dragging, a player with Arsenal. When Man United goes for a player, he's already agreed to come. And there's a chance, there's also stuff in the media stating that Viktor Gyökeres would prefer to come to Manchester United. And then yesterday, we just hear from some sources that Viktor Gyökeres, his agents have had talks or held talks with Arsenal, and they've had a meeting with Arsenal to inquire about Viktor Gyökeres. Now, you can't really say that this meeting or these meetings that they've had is for certain that Arsenal could go for him or could sign him. It's just basically to state that Arsenal are having an interest in Viktor Gyökeres. It's straightforward and direct. And then we have Rio Ferdinand coming out, even though I'm not against it, because obviously he might have seen something that we haven't seen, and I have to think clearly about what he's saying and how we have arrived at that. Rio Ferdinand said on one of his podcasts, I think which I watched with Joe Bayer, he had questioned whether Viktor Gyökeres is the right guy for Manchester United to sign this summer. Gyökeres has been heavily linked with Manchester United, having worked with Rúben Amorim at Sporting in Portugal. Gyökeres scored 97 goals in 102 appearances over the last 2 seasons to attract interest from across Europe, and he probably is even the highest goal scorer in Europe this season. And then there is the situation where the Swedish striker set his sights on exit from Sporting, and Old Trafford had been named as a potential destination. And then United had only scored 44 goals last season, which is more like if he scored 30-something, if he scored 50-something goals last season for Sporting, he probably scored more than Manchester. And if he scored all those goals for Man United, we would not be where we were at the end of the day. But the 5th lowest return in the Premier League, basically. So we're 5th lowest scoring team in Premier League. Now, despite Gyökeres' goal record, Ferdinand says that he's not convinced that the 27-year-old is the right signing for his former team. Now, if we look at it critically, he might not have had Premier League experience, but he has had experience playing on English soil. So he kind of understands, especially for one who has played in the Championship. So it depends. We might never know if he's the right player or not. We have a similar player although I would say not fully developed and not full blown, because Gyökeres is 27 and Gyökeres didn't hit his full potential until when he was 25. And a player like Rasmus is 22. There's a chance he would also eventually evolve into a Gyökeres type player. But do Manchester United fans want to wait for 2 to 3 years to be able to achieve that? And then Rio Ferdinand was saying something. He said, is Gyökeres the right guy? Listen, he has some good attributes. I've not seen enough to be totally convinced, he told. He spoke on his channel. Now said, when I've seen him in the Champions League, when people match him up physically, I would love to see more in that sense, basically. So it's more like Gyökeres is not the kind of player that would also always do the whole challenges or like matchups and stuff. Probably the kind of player that you want to put the ball on the run with. I mean, he did that when he broke Man City's lines and all that. And it'll be very, very good to see him against low blocks as to how most teams defended against Manchester United last season. But also, he said there's no denying that he knows where the goal is. In Portugal, he's been banging in goals in left and right and center, left, right, and center, right? But then, despite Gyökeres' goal record, Ferdinand says he's not convinced that the 27-year-old is the right man for Manchester United, right? He now said, for Manchester United at this moment in time, I would go for experience more than anything. But Gyökeres has experience. Play 27 years, that's experience, and that's player coming into his peak, right? And if we play with him, it will be good learning for players like Rasmus and even currently 24-year-old Joshua Zirkzee, because if you look at it, there is a chance that they would learn off of him and all of that. Then he now says, basically, it is said that Rio Ferdinand favors Viktor Osimhen ahead of Gyökeres. Osimhen is about 25, 26, so it's about the same age. And someone like Osimhen has experience, played in multiple leagues, has produced at every level through that, facts, and that he's played at, knows his way around the football pitch. Not just for the first team playing now, but also for Højlund and Chido-Obi and for Zirkzee. For these guys to look at someone and see it as a reference point of how to play as a number 9. I think if I was going to go for one of them, I would go for Osimhen. That is basically Rio Ferdinand's point of view or opinion about it. And that does not because the truth is, in as much as we don't know how Viktor Gyökeres will fare in the Premier League, we also don't know how Viktor Osimhen will fare in the Premier League. How many Italian players have come to the Premier League? How many players who have played in Italy have come to the Premier League and done well? Viktor Osimhen played in the French league, then moved to the Italian league in Napoli, did well, had problems with the club, was sent on loan to Galatasaray, did well there at Galatasaray, and then he's currently, touted to come to Manchester United. Same thing with Viktor Osimhen. No, same thing with Viktor Gyökeres. Viktor Gyökeres did well in the championship, didn't score so many goals. If we look at his stats, which we are going to do, when we are certain that the deal is already in place or probably he has agreed or say, here we go, then we do a player profile. Because all we're doing player profiles for players that are not going to play for Manchester United, it's kind of like a waste of time doing research on those kinds of players. Unless you guys want player profiles, we're going to be giving you guys player profiles. But if we're looking at Viktor Gyökeres as a whole, in general, like, I know everybody has seen a lot about his numbers and stuff and how he plays on social media, but if we're looking at him as a whole, right, he's had some experience playing in the championship, struggled, he's played in the lowest of lows, and then he eventually, has won leagues now, has won titles. Same as Osimhen, they've won titles, right, together and all of that. Osimhen didn't win in the French league, but also did well. He did well in Italy when he came. But we have two players who were signed from Italy that didn't do well, that haven't done well so far, right? Had good season, first season, but haven't done well so far in terms of scoring goals. That is Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund. So how can we, balance it, right? How can we balance it for saying, he has had experience, he's played in multiple leagues, he's played in Italy, he's played in Turkey. I mean, there are players who have gone to Turkey and they're still doing well to now. Fred, for example, case in point, all being different striker, not a center forward and all that, doing well in Turkey, right? So it all boils down to, perspective and opinions. And that's how I feel about it. But whatever the case, if Manchester United is going for Gyökeres, I would not oppose or I will back the player and all that. Hopefully he turns up in the Premier League. At least he has scored against Premier League teams, in Arsenal and Manchester City. So there is a chance that he can come to Manchester United. But now, with Arsenal in the picture, I really don't know what to say. I really don't know what to expect. We just have to keep, believing and keep hoping that things will pan out for the better for Manchester United. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about the whole Gyökeres situation. Do you think Manchester United should go for him or we should pivot? There's another player in the mix as well that Manchester United has an interest in, Hugo Ekitike. But it is what it is. We are going to bring it to you when we have full news. We're just hearing it only from Pletigo. Once I get confirmations from Fabrizio or even Ben Jacobs or David Ornstein, then we can now, take it to the next level and bring it to you. But for now, we're just going to stick to what we already have in the person of Viktor Gyökeres, and stating that Fabrizio Romano has talked about it and all of that, and is emphasizing that Manchester United are still interested, and then there's also news. Let me just bring this before we go. There's also news that Viktor Gyökeres has set his sight. There's no issues with that, but he has set his sight on going to Man United, and that whatever the Arsenal links are and all of that, it's not a big deal. Also, news, Arsenal have placed, I don't trust this source, but it says Arsenal have placed a bid for Viktor Gyökeres for 55 plus 10 million euros in add-ons. The bid is expected to be rejected, but the ball is officially rolling. Gyökeres has told Sporting that he will not play for them anymore. And this was the news that broke yesterday when Viktor Gyökeres said that he would no longer play for Sporting anymore. It's just rumor. It's just rumors, right? But the truth is, Viktor Gyökeres wants Manchester United, and United obviously are interested in the player, but they would only pay 50 million. And Viktor Gyökeres was told months ago that 50 million would be enough, 50 million pounds rather. Now United will refuse to go up to 65 million out of principle and trying to evade United tax. So Gyökeres now furious and planning a protest, right? And that is the situation between Viktor Gyökeres and coming to Man United and going to Arsenal. So whatever the case, I am not bothered, because at the end of the day, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Viktor Gyökeres knows where the winning mentality is. He knows it's not in Arsenal, it's in Manchester United. I mean, for a team that has played in 5 finals in the last 5 years. So let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. I know it's already a full-blown saga. Let's just watch as it unfolds, but keep our powders dry and prepare for the other signings in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.